Hello, David. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Awesome. So, for those who don't know about David, he is the founder of Pneuma Media and the co-owner of TALOS. So, would you please tell all the people watching and hearing us at homes what are those businesses and what else do you do?
Yeah, totally. So Pneuma Media is a website design, development, and SEO firm. So anything that deals with a website, anything that deals with an SEO campaign, we would be the team to do it. And then on top of that, Talos is, I would call it kind of like an operations development company. So anytime you have something that you want built, let's say an Airtable or a no-code solution like Notion or something of that sort, we help companies do that as well. So essentially kind of got a marketing company in one and then an operations company in the other.
Like there are a few reasons that the reasons that I wanted to connect with you and get on the show because number one that you got successful in your agency stuff, right after jumping out from the college, you started a business and then you got successful. And then a few other things like networking, freedom. I see you talking about that stuff a lot on other podcasts. So we're gonna talk about that and get your views on that. But number one question that I have for you is why did you agree to come on this show? Because it's just the fourth episode that we are recording, and it's the first time that we
Yeah.
are talking to each other. So what was the reason you decided to jump on the show?
Yeah.
Funny to me.
Man, I like doing podcasts, but it's one of those things as well that like whenever I started, I always wanted to be on a podcast. And it was always really hard to get on a podcast whenever nobody wanted me on. So nowadays I make it a priority as much as I can, right, to jump on other people's podcasts as well. Cause kind of to your point, right? You're the fourth episode in. It's cool for you to get podcast guests too. So no, I'm excited here to share story. And then, as you grow your podcast, hopefully people find value in it. And
Yes.
then I think I say all that. I think you had Jordan Paris on too, didn't you?
Yes. He's the
Yep.
man. He's
He
the
is
reason
the man.
he's the man who helped me create the show. It was his idea for me to start this podcast. It was not even my idea to do it.
Jordan's awesome, man. He is literally the man. So I'm glad you guys got connected.
Yes. So I'm not sure if you remember, but it's not the first time that we are interacting with each other. I already had a chat with you on LinkedIn in
Yep.
2020 when you were just starting. Do you remember that?
That was yeah. Well, I saw it whenever you and I were messaging. What
Oh,
was it? Scheduling this, and I guess just like messaging and staying up to date. I scrolled back and I saw all those old
crazy.
conversations.
That's crazy. So, okay, so let's just jump back to, 2018, 2019, when you were in the
Yeah.
finance college and you were doing a degree. So how did you actually get into entrepreneurship? What made you decide to do, start a business and
Yeah, man.
then going to the traditional path?
Super good question. There's a lot of reasons why I think I got into it. Ultimately, I think the reason I really did it and got good at it and really stayed with it is I just like building things. Even from a young age, whether or not it was a business, but I was like, I loved building Lego sets. I loved building train tracks. I loved playing with like Hot Wheels and making games out of it, right? Like always creative, but very like hands on and loved like creating something that could be used. I'd put it that way. So once I started graduating college or getting out of college and having an opportunity to actually build things, it was just a big opportunity for me. And I think that's what stick with it. Like at the end of the day, I love getting my hands dirty. I love building like the actual business of it. And obviously there's a lot of stuff that comes with businesses like taxes and client work and legal stuff and finances and all that fun stuff, right? But like at the heart of it, I just enjoyed building things, and building businesses just happened to be a really easy outlet for that.
Okay, so what was the first thing that you built that involved money?
Let's see. I was telling somebody about this the other day. The first quote unquote business I had, I was in elementary school and I would collect golf balls from my backyard because we lived on a golf course. I would collect golf balls. I would package them up, and then every year at the neighborhood yard sale, I would sell them back to people who probably hit them in our yard to begin with. But that was my first hustle, man. I would package them all up and I sell them. And my offer was you can get a golf ball for 25 cents, or you can get five golf balls for $1 to try and incentivize people buying five instead of four. But yeah, that was what I did early on. It was like that was the first hustle. And then from there, I moved into flipping shoes. And then after that, I did some freelance work and helping people land TED Talks, and then ended up where I am at today.
Yep. That's great. And I really want to talk about the TEDx stuff that you did back in those days. And
Yeah.
then you also I also heard that you like have I was it change high schools 3 to 4 times in 3 4 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, look at you. That's good research, man. So I was in three high schools in 4 years. It was crazy. A lot of moving.
Yep. So I the reason I quoted these the TEDx stuff and then the high school stuff because I see that that these two incidents would have a big impact on your life and the way that you did things in your career while you were building up businesses because I'm sure that you must have connected with a lot of people, learn those networking skills, and be the first one to say hello and make connections. So how was the experience, and how do you think that those experience help you to build a successful agency?
Yeah, definitely. So whenever I was younger, my dad held like a position in public policy. So he always went to dinners and networked and met people and was always kind of out and about. And at a certain age, I started to go with him. Like I would go with him to different events and different dinners and things like that. And I got to be a part of those. And, that was even as early as like 12 or 13, all the way up to, 21, 22. That really helped me get a feel for just how to network because I was watching other people do it, live time, like right in front of me and seeing how it was done well. So I would say that really helped me get, I would say, comfortable with networking, being in front of people, talking to people, meeting people. And then really outside of that, as I grew up, it started to just become something that I did on my own. So, if I wanted to meet somebody, I felt comfortable reaching out. I knew how to talk to them. I knew how to set up, a coffee meeting or get them to at least say yes to grab coffee or grab lunch or grab dinner. And really have just built on that ever since starting Pneuma or really growing Pneuma and then, where we're at today. It's just kind of that consistent flair of, who like the old saying, network is your net worth. Yeah, that's true. A little cliche, but like it's just nice to know a bunch of people in a bunch of different aspects of business and life. Because if I ever need a question answered, or if I never need help, or if I'm ever curious about a certain topic, it's a lot easier just to go reach out to somebody that you know. And for me as well, it's fun meeting people, right? I mean, there are a lot of cool people out there. And if I can meet one or two cool people every single week and kind of just add them to my network and stay in touch with them and keep up to date and see what they're doing, not only does it help me, but it kind of forms a friendship, which hopefully is valuable to them as well.
Okay. So again, with all those skills and network, you started a business, a website agency. But I see a lot of people doing a website agency, web design, and then all of this kind of stuff. And it's very easy to learn these skills online these days. And like there are people who are selling these services for like a couple of $100, and there are again who are charging 20K for a website. So
Yep.
how do you actually beat the market? What do you do differently, and how are you able to make it a success? So making it a success is one thing, but going to $1 million in revenue in like 14 months is another thing. So what makes it different?
Yeah, man, really good question. I'd say the biggest thing that makes it different is just like our inherent understanding of how our product impacts the business and can bring value, right? A lot of people can build a website, but very few can build a website that's going to help you land more customers and build a better business. A lot of people can write a blog. Not many people can write a blog that's really going to help you grow an SEO presence, build organic traffic, add new keywords to your site. So I think our biggest, impact, right, is to say that, hey, we know how to actually make this work for you and make it ROI positive. $200 is cheap. Our expenses, on average can get up to 10, 15, $20,000 a project, but we know it's going to work, right? And we might be able to bring outsized impact and outsized return to you versus what somebody else could do. So I think it's a lot of that. And I'd say the other thing that really sets us apart is client communication and just like in the nicest way possible, hand holding clients and making sure that they feel like they're involved in the process, but also that you have their best interest in mind.
Okay. So do you think that the quality of the service being provided is of course the one of the primary reasons you can scale and you can have more clients and you can retain them. But for example, I would say that there would be many people who are good at their craft, but again, they're not able to make it. So for example, I'll take my example only. I do paid ads and I've been doing it for last 2 years. I've spent like over a couple of $1 million in paid ads, and I've
Yep.
generated like great ROIs for all the clients that I work. But again, I'm not, I'm unable to scale to a different level, and I'm not able to get a lot of clients. So, uh, is it only the service quality part, or what other elements do you think are important?
To scaling an agency or just like continuing to grow it?
I would say to actually go from 0 to 1 and make it a real business, and then scaling
Yeah.
further.
Yeah. So I think, right, uh, we'll just pick something easy. Let's say, well, we'll use Pneuma as an example because I know that. So let's say you wanted to start a web agency. Building one website, you can figure out pretty quickly, right? Building two websites at a time might be a little bit harder, but you'll figure out a cadence. The biggest thing that I think is that key to scaling the agency and having outsized growth is going to be, how do I scale 100 or build 100 websites at the same time, right? All you're doing is building the website that you know how to do in one sitting, but now you have to manage a team. And how does a team build X amount of websites? So I think the hardest thing that we came across as we were trying to grow at scale is simply just, we know how to run an SEO campaign, we know how to build a website, but we want to have a $10 million agency, right? How are we going to do that at scale? How are we going to grow each of those individual business units and get them to a point to where they're one self-sustaining, but two, we can fulfill 100 SEO campaigns at once, not just one at a time. So I think that's really, you're right. How do we uphold quality, keep people happy, continue to deliver results while also, growing our workload as well?
And I see a lot of people actually struggling to go from 0 to 1, right? Getting the first few clients and retaining them. And I've listened to a couple of shows featuring you where you shared that you have been doing a lot of cold outreach mails and DMs when you were just starting out. So uh, was it real? Like I remember that you said once that you used to send 200 mails a day manually, and
Yeah.
like how does that work? For example, let's say there would be many young people out there that have a skill, but again they don't know whom to sell, how to sell, and how
Yep.
to make it work for them. So what would you suggest to them?
Yeah, it was definitely real, by the way. I was sending manually all sorts of cold emails and DMs early on just to like get in front of people. Um, Really, the only reason it was the only thing I knew how to do. But I would say, like, if somebody's trying to do, especially scale kind of like that sales side, right, and continue to grow the agency that way, there's that old saying that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. I always say a really healthy business or $1 million business has 7 streams of leads. One or two of those are going to be your winners, right? That's going to bring in like 60, 70% of your leads. For us, that is what we call partnerships. And then anything inbound from our content, I would say. Typically, that's coming inbound through the website, but I just put it as content as a whole. And then, the other 4 or 5, right? Sometimes we get some referrals that pop through. Sometimes we get, a networking. Somebody just knows me through somebody else. We get some leads through cold emailing. Sometimes we get some leads through cold calling. So there's all sorts of stuff. But I always say if you're trying to start out and really grow the sales side of the agency, pick one, avenue, whether it's cold email or content marketing or ads and doing that for your own company. Pick one avenue and really, ace it. Get really, really, really good at it, and then potentially go add another one as you scale.
All right. So you just mentioned that all the networking aspect to the business. For those who are just starting out from absolute zero, who are from maybe from third tier countries, just like I'm from India, right? So for me, I
Mhm.
don't have any friends in the US, or maybe I have only a very few friends in the US. So I know how would I make it work? Should I just keep blasting mails or DMs? Or how would that work for me? For a person like
Yeah.
who's from a third tier country and doesn't have any friends.
No, I get it, man. I mean, honestly, like what you did with me, get me on the podcast, right? I'm from Denver, completely different side of the world, right? But I think a lot of people, one, to your advantage, are always going to say yes to podcasts because they're fun. You get to meet the other people. You kind of get to talk about your businesses and what you've been able to do. But I would say for you as well, it's a really good networking tool. So I have a lot of friends that have podcasts that essentially use it as a networking tool. If they want to meet somebody and build a relationship, they just jump on a podcast with them and they use their own podcast to like almost open those doors. So that would be the easy advice I'd give you, man. It's kind of working right now, right? You and I are chatting and we've never really chatted before, I guess outside of LinkedIn. So I would do a similar strategy, right? Like who do you want to meet anywhere in the world realistically, and use the podcast as a way to, open up that door and get to meet them.
Got it. And of course, I'm not gonna, leave cold emailing people, because after I got to know that you got Mark Cuban to work with you,
Yep.
I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
is it possible?
That was
Yes.
oh man, it's possible. That was a funny story, but I haven't emailed him since, but yeah, it just goes to show, right? Like you're one cold email away from having a pretty different circumstance in business, and you're probably 1,000 away from having quite a few clients as well. So cold emails is definitely one of those number games, right? If you do it and do it well and do it consistently, it's going to pay off.
Yep, exactly. So let's assume that you're 17, 18 again. You have all the knowledge and the wisdom that you have right now, but you don't have any uh, finances and the network. How would you
Yep.
start again, and how would you make it work?
Yeah, I would man, I would try and go get a client as quickly as possible. What I did whenever I was younger that I'd probably do again is let's say my service is $1,000 a month. I would go talk to 100 people and say, "Hey, I'm starting this new business. I have experience in it, but this is the first time on my own. I would typically charge $1,000 a month for this, but today I want to give it to you for $300 a month, $400 a month, $500 a month. Like make it a no-brainer for them to say yes and say, hey, if I do good, all I ask is that you give me a referral to somebody that you think could use my services." And I would do that, and I would get, right off the bat, I would work as much as possible to get that stuff done, and essentially just start from there, right? Because you get a little bit of cash, get a little bit of client success, but you obviously get a book of business and some testimonials and feedback. But really, I think what people fail to do, they start a new business, they want to perfect their product. They want to figure out exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do a home run every single time. And I definitely learned with Pneuma, and I think other companies that were starting, it's better just to get the ball rolling, right? Go out, meet people, get clients, and just make progress and start pushing people in the right direction. And, the rest of it will kind of fall into place afterwards.
Okay. Got it. Again, so you were, again, grinding out when you were starting out, and you were mailing people. You were doing everything that you could do. What was the first aha moment, that turned the trajectory or the path, to what
Yep.
you do?
I'd say there's a lot of aha moments, but the one that I always think of is that we hired a new salesperson, and there was one day where I couldn't make a call, and I actually didn't even know there was a call. I had something pop up, so I must have like not been added to it or whatever. But all in all, that was the first day that somebody else closed a deal for Pneuma without me being on the call. And that was a big aha moment of like, okay, now we can have some fun, right? Because somebody else has now closed a deal on my behalf, on the company's behalf, and I didn't have to be there. Now I have a lot of extra free time to go, work on the business, hire people, grow the team, make the product better. So that was the first big aha moment, because sales is really important for the growth of an agency, right? But it's really hard to grow an agency whenever you're also doing sales. So that was a big aha moment for me.
When you were into the agency thing for only a few months, you were doing sales, and then you were also scaling up and growing it. So was it difficult to learn other sides of the business as well? For example, the finance side of the business, and then training people. And because it was your first experience of doing it, managing people and training at the same time. So was it a mess up when you were just starting out, or you were able to manage it?
And a little bit of both. I was definitely able to manage it, but it definitely wasn't the easiest thing to manage. It got messy. And I'd even say today, right? Like a growing business is always going to feel a little bit messy. There's always going to be something to do, something to improve, something to fix, something that broke that maybe needs fixing, right? Like there's always going to be stuff to do and stuff. And sorry, the dogs are playing in the background. It's always going to be stuff to do and like things to fix. So I would say even today, as we've grown, we have team members, we have a more polished business. It's still messy. And that's just kind of the fun of it, right? Like there's always problems to solve, especially at our scale. So that's something that we focus on and continue to grow. But man, I'd say early on we made a lot of bad decisions. We made a lot of good ones. But it was definitely back and forth quite a bit early on.
Okay, got it. And what are your future plans now that you have got some level of success? What do you aspire to do next with your agency? Are you gonna, sell it and start new business? Or what are
Yep.
your aspirations?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure right now. Maybe we sell it, maybe we don't, but definitely plans to start new businesses in the future. I like building businesses and I really like building client service businesses. They're a beast of a business and they're quite difficult to build, but I feel like we have a good system and strategy and understanding of client service businesses to do a really good job for them. So yeah, my goal is, with Pneuma to keep it, to sell it. I haven't quite decided on that front. I don't think, there will ever be a hard and fast decision. It'll probably just happen one way or the other. But I do have plans to continue to start new businesses and really try and take what we've learned from Pneuma and scale it into other ventures.
Okay, so what are your other interests besides the website thing and the business automation services that you're doing? Is there
Yeah, I would say even, right, I'm not inherently interested in websites, SEO, or the business operations. I'm inherently interested in like building the business. What's the offer? What's the product? How do those two go together? How do we market it? How do we sell it? How do we hire for it? How do we systemize everything to work in a cohesive, unified fashion? So it's really not that I have a specific interest in mind for a type of industry, type of company. It's more so I just like this business model. I like client services and I like, focusing on that. So I think moving forward, if really any business and client services is something that we're going to take a look at.
okay? Got it. So I think that we have reached the time limit that we had. It's
Yep.
already 25 minutes. So I'm gonna ask you one last question and then we can just close it. It's
Yeah.
it's an open mic. We the most of the people that will listen to the show are gonna be the people who are still 18, 19 and who are grinding their way up to make something work for them and build up businesses for them. So what would be your message to them?
Yeah. Find somebody that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ahead of you that, isn't at the stage of life you're in, but is like the next stage of life, and go make best friends with them, especially if that's what you want to do. So early on in my career, there was somebody that was 4 years older than me, was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And I just became best friends with him and essentially, stayed in his corner, asked him as much advice as he'd give me. But got really close so I could see the steps that he was making, the moves that he was making, and tried to emulate them for myself as well. So yeah, that would be the biggest piece of advice. Go find somebody that you want to emulate. Go find somebody that you quite frankly like would want to be in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and just become friends with them and really learn, how they approach life and business, and take the good parts of it and apply it for yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm 100% sure that this works because this has worked for me earlier. This only helped me to start this show, Jordan. I have
Yeah,
friends with Jordan for a few years now, and he helped me to build up the show. And here I'm talking to you. So that this works for sure.
I love it, man. Well, hey, thank you for having me on. You have a great rest of your day, man. And yeah, hopefully this was enjoyable.
Awesome. Thank you for jumping on the show. One last thing.
Yeah.
Where people find you on the internet if they want to connect with you and learn more about you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn at David William Riggs or David W. Riggs. And then I have my own website that doesn't have much content on it, but it's still out there. It's davidwilliamriggs.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for getting on the show. It's an
Dude,
absolute
thanks for the invite.
thank you.
I'll see you, man. Peace.